averages, Ms. Massey goes, she's right about a lot of things. I mean, there's not a person in this courtroom that wants to be here discussing a dead child. Nobody. Not you all, not me. But the state asks you to convict Megan Boswell of first-degree murder. And it's very interesting what they've done. They've asked you to convict Megan Boswell of first-degree murder in 3 different ways. They've asked you to find that it's a premeditated and intentional killing of her child. And then they're asking you to find that it's a murder that is perpetrated as part of child abuse. And then they're saying, well, if it's not that, surely it's because of child neglect. That's a problem. The state's theory is reasonable doubt in and of itself. They don't know what happened. They don't know how that child died, and they can't prove how that child died. I expect you'll hear from a couple of different medical examiners who come to somewhat the same conclusion, but one medical examiner, I think you'll hear from her, and she has a very interesting theory. But I would suggest to you that her theory is flawed, and the proof will show you why it's flawed. Just like yesterday I was talking about in voir dire, I think I asked a couple of you about the scientific method. And if you put in incorrect data, would you get incorrect results? And you will, if it's data significant. The state asks you, I anticipate this medical examiner, based on her testimony in another hearing, is going to say that this child was alive when it was placed in the trash can. But then again, the state says Megan's guilty of abuse of a corpse. Those theories are not consistent. They're not consistent with this. What the state hasn't talked to you about is the possibility of what if this was accidental? What if Megan or Hunter Wood rolled over on that child in the bed? And I find this unreasonable, honestly. I find it unreasonable that you roll over on your child in the bed and you don't call 911. And I'm 49 years old. I practiced law for close to 25 years. Mr. Harper talked about yesterday how your life experiences are different. Well, mine are certainly different than Megan's. When this child died, she was 18 years old. Now, you heard about what a great father Tommy Boswell was and how involved he was. What you didn't hear is Megan had that child because while she was in foster care. That's how involved Tommy Boswell was. She was in foster care when she had the child. I think you'll hear a lot in this trial about how she came up. And I like to tell people, and I do tell people, I've never had a hard day in my life. I've never went hungry. I've never not had a place to live. I've never fought a war, and I've never lost a child. And I can't put myself in the position of someone who has lost a child. But that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Put yourself in Megan Boswell's position. She's 18 years old. She's got an older boyfriend. We expect the proof will be that he tells her, don't involve me with this. I don't want to be involved. Because they're scared they're going to get charged with something. That's going to be the proof in this case. And my reaction and your reaction would be different. I would certainly call 911. But I'm not 18 years old. And I sometimes think back to myself and I say, I would have called 911 at 18 years old. And I probably would. But I know a lot of people at 18 years old, it wouldn't. Their life experiences are different. Their maturity is different. If any of you have kids, some of you probably know that. Now, I want to talk to you about about the indictment itself. We entered a not guilty plea to each and every count, and we persist in that. But that probably seems disingenuous to some of y'all about certain things, and I want to explain why. Counts 7 through 17 charge false report. And to find a false report, they have alleged that she has acted with the intent to obstruct or hinder an officer from preventing the offense or incident from occurring. Well, in the case of the death of her daughter, the death had already occurred when she gave those statements. So it's not to hinder an officer in preventing the offense now, or for continuing to occur. That's the first thing. So you have to determine, is she criminally responsible? Did she lie to the police? She absolutely lied to the police. I'm not contesting that. Some of the stuff she said, again, are an 18-year-old girl scared to death, talking to a TBI agent, talking to a police officer, and trying to explain this. She doesn't want to get in trouble. It doesn't mean she murdered her child. It doesn't mean she killed her child. What it means is that's her perception that she's going to get in trouble for this. And despite all the assertions to the contrary by the state, this is a trial, and I want to choose my words carefully. Ms. Massengill talks about Evelyn. How to get this right for Evelyn. Get justice for Evelyn. Now I want you to hear me out before you judge my statement. There's nothing you all are going to do that's going to change anything for Evelyn. Not a thing. The child is gone. Your job here today, and in the coming days and weeks, we're going to decide whether Megan's actions are criminal or whether they're not criminal. I'm not asking you to find her innocent of anything, because that's not your function. Your job is to determine whether the state can prove beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty that she committed each and every element of the offenses charged. And you're not going to be able to do that. Their theories are absolutely inconsistent. Premeditated murder, oh well, if we can't prove that, maybe we'll get her by neglect. And I would suggest to you that the investigation into this case, once it focused on Megan Boswell, it focused on Megan Boswell. You'll see what little investigation there was into Hunter Wood, the boyfriend that they talk about, who, it's like he's out of the picture. It's just Megan's business. But we expect the proof will show you that he was involved with it, that he placed that baby there, that he had access to that property, that he'd been a lifelong friend of Megan's brother, Tommy Boswell Jr., who goes by Mikey. He knew where that stuff was. Now, there are other things about the body and how it was found that will come out in the proof, and I'll bring those to your attention later. But they will show you that baby wasn't placed in that trash bin dead. They will indicate to you that baby was probably moved. Also, I want to touch again on this massive deal's talking about Tommy Boswell. Tommy Boswell just had an epiphany. Well, he had an epiphany after they searched his property over and over, after they had run a cadaver dog by that building where the baby was and didn't hit on it. Then one day he'll just pick up the phone and say, hey, I just got to thinking, Megan had this playhouse down here. Maybe you should come and search it. The cadaver dog didn't hit. Seems strange that the TBI searches your property and you want to say, search all the buildings. Look at the playhouse. Why? Why do you have an epiphany days later? I bet I know where the child is. You'll hear from him. You'll hear him explain it. You can make your determination if you believe it. But ultimately, you're tasked with determining whether Megan killed that child. The child could have died of sudden infant death syndrome. It's on the upper range of sudden infant death syndrome, but it's still there. And that child, I think that child's date of birth is the middle of November. So when we say a 13-month-old child, the child was barely 13 months. Could have died from that. It could have died from somewhere wrong over, as I believe. It's negative. And certainly, disposing of that body the way it was disposed of is not excusable. It doesn't excuse anything. It doesn't make it right. But it doesn't mean she's murdered. It doesn't mean that. I want to talk to you about, there's a last count that we pled not guilty to on abuse or a failure to report a suspicious death. And as indicted, the state chose to indict that where the death was from violence, trauma, or any suspicious or unusual or unnatural manner. Now, I can't deny she didn't report it. She didn't report it. There's no denying that. But what I would tell you is what that indictment leaves out is a key part of that statute. And had it included that, I would have pled guilty, had her plead guilty to that. And that talks about where the unexpected death of a child is severe health or sudden infant death syndrome. Had that have been included, she would have stood up and said, I'm guilty of that, I did that. But it's not included because the indictment wants to make it that she committed a violent offense against the child. Lying to the police, improper disposal of the body, or whatever part she played in that, doesn't mean she murdered the child. It means she was an 18-year-old girl that panicked. That's what you have to think about when you hear this proof. That's all I've got to say to you. I thank you for your time and attention. I know I'll probably cross-examine you, a lot of you fairly hard the other day. And I mean no disrespect by that. I just want you to know in the jury selection process, I did that because we have to have jurors that, make sure that you can be a good juror. That's the only reason. I mean, absolutely no disrespect. If I was hard on you, I apologize for that, but I don't apologize for standing up for me.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. General Clerk, please.
Stay with call agent Brian Fraley.